Hey everybody, Happy New Year and welcome to this issue of Staffing Monthly, where I am really excited to talk about a topic that I think is going to be very important for the staffing industry. It's something that has been emerging and has officially been mainstream for a little while, yet the staffing industry has not fully embraced it, and that is sales and marketing integrated workflows. And one of the main reasons that it hasn't happened is despite having some of the most amazing ATSs and staffing softwares out there like Aviante, there are some feature sets that aren't native to support the sales and marketing process the way that the market needs it today. So because I'm super curious about that, and I know that you probably are super curious about it, I actually went out and I found somebody that is an expert in actually building out these workflows in the market leading, I guess, sales CRM in Hubspot. I have a hard time calling it just that because it does so much, which our guests will share in a second. But I actually have Lauren Ryan, who is the chief marketing nerd with Coastal Consulting, and they specialize in helping companies actually set up workflows for sales and marketing enablement to take sales teams to the next level in HubSpot. And a quick note about HubSpot, it is a great partner and it fully integrates with softwares out there like Aviante, Bullhorn, and other of the main ATSs that you might be working with. So with that, first, I just want to welcome you to the show. Lauren, thank you for being here and sharing your information today.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here. Always excited to talk about HubSpot.
I love it. They're a cool company, honestly. They are just inbound. I mean, it's just you guys are, it's just crazy what they do there. But so we connected, and I'll tell you why. Because and I've been in this camp, but sales and marketing workflows are ever important. All of the main enterprise companies, not just in the staffing industry, but everywhere, they've kind of focused on these and they've mastered these. But when you look at the primary softwares that are available to the staffing industry, they're not overly built out in the sales CRM space, and certainly not really in the marketing workflow space. So that's where HubSpot comes in. And I wanted to ask you, like, what is the best way to build these workflows out in HubSpot to have it integrated with what we're actually using in the ATSs of the staffing industry?
So the primary thing that I do at Coastal Consulting is integrate HubSpot and Salesforce. So if you're not familiar, Salesforce is the really big legacy CRM on the market. And HubSpot is kind of like the newcomer that's sales and marketing. HubSpot's been around for a while, but the CRM functionality has recently kind of surpassed Salesforce in user ratings. So instead of just being a marketing platform like it used to, it's now a really heavy hitter for sales as well and being your primary CRM. So the way that I integrate HubSpot and Salesforce ties over very nicely to the applicant tracking systems you're talking about and kind of that staffing role, because the people out there listening are probably not going to be using HubSpot as their primary ATS, although some companies do. They've started using HubSpot for that full life cycle hiring process and staffing. But HubSpot can really grow your business by funneling leads and applicants back to your primary system. So integrating with HubSpot, what I've seen with companies really elevates their existing programs. It's really just plug and play, pulling more friction or like removing friction and pushing more force into your funnel with your existing ATS. So where I've seen that really be helpful is that introductory period, wherever somebody goes on your website and says, hey, I'm interested in a job, or hey, I'm interested in hiring someone, and that instant response. So right now we know we live in this like Amazon focused world where everything is instant. We have no room for delayed gratification in any
None.
system.
None.
None, literally no room for that. And so if your systems are not set up to remove that friction, they're going on to the next person. Because usually when somebody's looking out for something or trying to gather research, they've narrowed it down to 3 and they go submit everyone's contact us forms. And then from there, it's a race to the finish between you and your top competitors to see who's responding the fastest and who's providing that best experience. So whenever somebody submits a form, something I like to do is send an immediate response, whether that be a marketing email saying, hey, we received your form, here's some resources in the meantime before you reach out. Or with HubSpot, if you're using marketing and sales features with HubSpot, you can actually automate a one-on-one email from your sales team directly. So let's say somebody submits your demo form, and I can actually share and show you what this looks like. Let's say somebody submits a demo form on your website that says, hey, I want you to contact me. It says, hey, I want a demo. You can actually automate in HubSpot where they are immediately enrolled in a sequence, which is a series of automated sales emails. Let's say you have Gmail or Outlook and you integrate that with HubSpot. You can automate emails to say, hey, like we received your message. I'm Lauren and I'm ready to reach out to you. You can send them a meeting scheduling link where they can go in directly to your meeting scheduler and book time with you by choosing it from a calendar. And then they can set up the demo. So the form is their first name and their email that says, I want a demo. You send them that sales email that says, schedule some time with me. And then without your salesperson doing anything, they have a meeting booked on their calendar and a time ready to go. So it removes so much friction from the process and it gives you all these steps to then track and see those metrics throughout.
So can you just hit on see more? I just want to see kind of what the rest of that template looks like down there, you know. So basically what this would be is if they went to the website and let's say they said, hey, I'm interested, they done a little white paper or something, right? And then it's like it triggers them in the sequence. It says, hey, hey, Lauren, I saw you downloaded my, top 10 ways to hire better talent ebook from the website. Was curious what you thought about it. We're currently building a ton of new content. So any feedback, might be available to provide would be greatly appreciated. If you're open to it, I'd be happy to share some thoughts on, hiring or onboarding or retention of talent as it relates to your needs at whatever their company name is. And then like it just gets sent out like that. And then they can,
Mhm.
where would the link be or would the link not be in this one?
The link would be in this one. So this sequence is not necessarily static. So you can also go and edit any of the steps anytime. So if we wanted to edit the email, we could go in and just edit it as we're creating it. So if we wanted to create a new sequence, we can do that and say there's all these different templates that you can use. So if they reached out and said there's a demo request, then here we go. Hey, first name, I got to know that you requested some information about hiring. Wanted to introduce myself as your main point of contact. When you're ready, let's find some time. And then there's the meetings link. So in the meantime, here are some other videos or resources. So you can go through and HubSpot provides all of these templates right out of the box where you can create a sequence saying whatever you'd like it to. Honestly, these templates are just a great place to start. You can also automate reminders to call somebody or send a manual email where you're doing some more editing to it rather than just the automated email sequences. But this is what it would look like. And you can change this text to whatever you'd like it to be. This is just the out of the box template.
Sure. So that's pretty sweet. So you mentioned though that it can be almost individualized. So let's say it's like a regional or national staffing agency that has a dozen or a couple dozen locations, right? And somebody just goes to the website. Like they might have like a locations tab, but generally they're gonna have one website for the company. So if they go and they fill out the contact form, right? Let's say they, hey, request an employee contact form or submit a job order form or whatever it might be, and they fill that form out. How can it actually get segmented to the sales rep that might actually be in that market and how would that work?
For sure. So what we would do for that is we would say, okay, they submit this form and then we're going to automate the enrollment. So we would add a decision tree here that says based on something, they would go to someone. So if we had a specific owner for North Carolina, per se, we would go to contact properties and choose the state from the form that was submitted and say if they went to North Carolina or they're located in North Carolina, we want them to go down that branch specifically. And then if they go down this branch, we would want the sender for the sequence to be Sarah instead of me. So whenever we do that, you can choose specifically who the emails are going to come from. So you could add all the different branches here to indicate specifically where people are. Typically, it's done by location. This is a common segment of where people are. You could also segment by company size. So if somebody submits a form and says, I have 200 roles to fill, you could segment based off of that. So based off of all of that, you can segment it here and then enroll in a different sequence based off of this segment or enroll in the same sequence, but from a different sender. So you can do all that segmentation in one workflow automation in HubSpot.
That's pretty sweet. And you guys, if you're not tech savvy like you guys, that's what Coastal Consulting does is like help set this stuff up. Is that how that works or no?
Mhm. Yeah, we help teams set this stuff up primarily if they're integrating HubSpot and Salesforce. There are a lot of technical firms out there. So whenever you go to look and get started with HubSpot, you have the option to onboard through HubSpot or onboard with a HubSpot partner. Coastal Consulting is a HubSpot Platinum partner, and we actually have their onboarding accreditation. So whenever you're looking for a partner to get started with HubSpot, you want to look for an accredited partner. It's a new certification program that HubSpot rolled out that basically says, hey, this partner knows how to do this. It's verified. They do reviews with our customers. They look at all of our internal documentation to say, like, yes, they have our stamp of approval. So whenever you're looking to get started and build out this technical piece, you're looking for a technical consulting firm or a technical agency that can do onboarding and implementation. I have a few off the top of my head, like Rev Partners, Aptitude 8, Rev Black. There's a few partners in the space like us that to focus on this technical piece specifically, and help teams take their vision of what they need, build it out for them so they can just get up and running really quickly with their sales and marketing.
Got it. So the same thing, and I got some use cases I want to explore on the sales side, but
Yeah,
um, is the same thing is true on the recruiting side. If someone actually fills out like apply for a job or contact us and is like, hey, I'm looking for a job and they're in the state, like they could just have a sequence to say, hey, we saw that you applied for a job or you reached out or this, and you can keep them in a sequence to sort of keep them engaged in the talent pipeline, right? And it
for
can be
sure.
segmented based on locations. Like if it goes to a certain branch, it'll like be a recruiter there. Okay, that's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
So
Um,
you can segment based on branch and you can also keep them updated. So there's a third. So HubSpot is segmented into different hubs for features. So Marketing Hub lets you send marketing emails. Sales Hub is more sales focused, like that sales meeting link I showed you and the sequences. There's also Service Hub, which enables you to manage more of like a process. So with recruiting, there's two different ways that people normally set this up. One is through using a deal pipeline. So if you think, okay, applied, interviewing, hired, something that's a sequential stage-based process, usually the deals object is used for something tied to revenue. So let's say that you get commission for everyone that's hired. You might use the deal pipeline to represent that. But if you didn't, if it wasn't based off of commission or something like that, you might use the ticket pipeline. And so when somebody applies, you capture their resume in something called a ticket, which is under Service Hub, which is also in a sequential like set of steps, like applied, interviewed, hired, whatever. So there's different ways in HubSpot that you can actually manage that process, which you would probably do in your ATS instead of
okay.
HubSpot directly. But
Yeah.
if you synced that with HubSpot to keep that in sync, it could also do that stage-based email. So thank you for applying. Your next interview is on X date. So you can use HubSpot to send those types of emails as well to keep them up to date of where they are in the process.
So that makes sense. So I guess it's the service hub that's actually more where companies are probably utilizing HubSpot as an ATS. So
Mhm. Yeah.
uh, okay, so I want to switch back to some use cases with the time that we have. So I know that I'm going to focus on two use cases. One is like the traditional sales use case that staffing has, that most staffing agencies deploy their sales methodology to grow. And the other one is the more emergent marketing and sales enablement role that marketing has. So first, most traditional agencies grew either your very traditional outbound sales, you're doing your cold calls, your emails, all that kind of stuff, and you're doing that. And then, some of the best coaches and consultants like Tom Erb, he really was predicating the cadence, saying, hey, you really needed, targeted prospecting campaigns. You can't do this kind of onesie twosie, I'm going to call this company today and I might follow up with them in 30 days. Like there has to be a system to it, and he's actually been one of the thought leaders on having sales or prospecting cadences.
Mhm.
So could you build out, let's just say this, I'm going to give you kind of an example of how it runs and then tell me how HubSpot would support this process. So with a cadence, what typically happens for a targeted prospecting campaign, there's like a duration. It's 30 days, 45 days, maybe 12 weeks, whatever. And then you pick a certain number of prospects that you're going to target, right? And maybe it's 100, 200, whatever it is. And you load them in, and then there's usually days that you do cold calling, there's days you do emails, there's days that you do physical visits if you're in market. There might be some LinkedIn outreach. There's like a lot of different touch points, even physical send outs in some cases. And you schedule this out over the 30, 45, 12 weeks, whatever it is. And you do this. Is there a way that you could manage that entire workflow all through HubSpot so the sales rep could show up and they would know exactly who they need to call on a certain day. The emails would automatically go out based on just moving the prospect into that stage of the cycle, and that they would know if they need to go do visits, and they would do all of that stuff, or have to do physical send outs. Like, can that all be managed? And can the emails be automated so they don't actually have to go in and send out? Like, it'll automatically just happen. And then the last question, because I'm throwing a ton at you here, is um, if the prospect responds and they schedule a meeting, or the person does a cold call and they like say, yeah, they schedule a meeting, can it automatically be stopped so they don't get any more of the prospecting, cadence stuff? Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
So let's share my screen again and show you two things. One is the prospecting tool in HubSpot, and two is the sequences tool. So the prospecting dashboard is a new feature in HubSpot that helps you see at a glance everything that you have going on that day. So you can see here in my demo account, I have nothing due today, but I do have things that are overdue. And then you can also see what's due tomorrow. You can see your sequences and where things are in different statuses, suggested activities, like someone's been assigned to you and you should do something about it. So there's a lot here. I won't go into all of it, but essentially this is the dashboard where you can manage your activities as a sales rep. So you can log in and see everything super easy. If you connect your calendar, you can also see your schedule for that day, and you can see an activity feed of everything that's happening with your contacts. Like, did they revisit a page on your website or something like that? So this is where you can easily see what you have going on as a sales rep. And the way that you can automate everything that you were talking about is through a sequence. So the tool that I was talking about a little bit earlier, you can customize this to do a lot of things. So if we go into HubSpot and click create sequence and start from scratch, you'll see the total steps, days to complete, the automated percent, and the unenroll criteria. The unenroll criteria will start with if they reply to an email or book a meeting with you, it stops the sequence.
Okay.
So if they go through just to start right off the bat, they can stop the sequence, and so that pulls them right out. There are 6 things that can happen within a sequence. So you can automate an email, set a template, you can do merge tags, you can include whatever, and that can automatically send it without any involvement from a sales rep. There can be a manual email task where you can put all of the stuff that you would in an automated email, but the sales rep still has to see it on that day and press send. So sometimes we like to start with an automated email and have the rest be manual, because some sales reps want more of like a hands-on approach to like step by step how to do this.
Yeah.
But I prefer to automate all of them because I'll just make a really detailed template, but I'll show you a little bit about that in a second. Next is there's a call task, so you can remind them to make an actual phone call. And then a general task. So the general task could be go and see them in person or something like that. You can use this for anything that's
Mailed
not,
letter or a postcard or okay.
yeah. And then there's 2 LinkedIn tasks. So one is a reminder to send an in-mail, so a message on LinkedIn, and then one is a reminder to send a connection request.
And those would be
So,
manual. So like it would tell the seller
yeah,
you got to go do it. Like, you're not integrating into LinkedIn to do that automatically.
correct.
Okay.
So these are manual to go do these things. With different sales navigator integrations with HubSpot, you can do some of those pieces, but the sequence doesn't do it automatically.
Okay. Can I ask a quick question? So, on the call task reminder, do you have any integrations with like VoIP phone services like Zoom, or like so they could actually be in, like they say, hey, you got to call this client. Here's their number. They could basically click the dial if it's linked to the Zoom phone account or whatever. Does that work?
So So HubSpot actually has HubSpot calling. So you can go into a contact directly and just click call. So let me see if I can pull one up for you. So I personally don't call people. But whenever you have a record in HubSpot, you can go in and in the top left, it shows like create a note, send an email, and then make a phone call. So whenever you go to do this, if you set up your own phone number, you can actually click call, and HubSpot will log and record that call and store it on the contact record right there. And there are integrations. So I usually recommend Kixie as my calling platform. It integrates very well with HubSpot and Salesforce, which is something I love. Also Fireflies, which is an AI note taker on
Yep.
the call we're on right now, will record and store notes from calls directly in HubSpot. So you can open it up and link directly to Fireflies. So HubSpot becomes kind of like a hub for everything that's connected to it. So you can do calling directly from HubSpot and use that as your VoIP, or you can integrate with a lot of different tools where you can call directly. Typically that shows up on the right. Like you can see the LinkedIn sales nav is over here on the right. So
So
yes, you can do that.
So that's pretty sweet that it basically logs it there. And I'm guessing
Mhm.
you have the integration with Salesforce, but with some of the others, is there a bi-directional data sync to where like if it logs that a call was made, will it also show up on like the client record or the prospect record in, Aviante or whatever ATS you're using to say, hey, this was called because some managers still pull, performance reports or activity reports out of the ATS. So is there like a directional data sync on that?
It depends on the individual ATS, but yes, there is bidirectional sync available. And pretty much if anything has an OPA API, you can usually use an iPaaS solution like Zapier or Zapier, however you say it, to add those as well if there wasn't a native bidirectional sync. So that's always an option too.
Okay. Cool. Sorry, I interrupted you there. So what?
No, you're fine. So these are the six things that you can do with a sequence. And then you might be wondering, okay, how would I get them in the sequence? Because you can do that automated workflow enrollment that we talked about before, or you could go to your contact list and just enroll them in a sequence by selecting them and clicking enroll. The reason this is very helpful is whenever you select a sequence, let's say I'm a sales rep and I want to go through and send them in these emails. What I can do if I'm doing these one by one is go through and click the individual person and actually customize the email. So let's say my marketing team has created this email template for me. I can also add like nice to see you at the restaurant this weekend, whatever.
Right.
Um, just something that's more personal to your relationship with this person. Or if you were researching their LinkedIn and you saw something specific about them, you can go through and update all of the emails in this sequence to then have your personal touch for each person. So I can go through and then do it for this next contact. And at the end, I can click enroll all of them. And so I can enroll all of these sequences or all these people in this automated sequence, but each one has a personal touch from me as a sales rep because I was able to do that. And you don't have to, you can just enroll all of them. But if your sales
Nice.
team is like, I want to personalize, you can do that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Is there any of the buzzword AI or chat GPT integrations where I'm like, hey, I could just use some help, customizing a good template? Like, do you have like any of that going on right now to help out optimizing emails? Yes, you do.
So HubSpot has something called ChatSpot AI. I personally have
Of
not
course.
played with it
Of course.
enough, but you can talk to, yeah, Dharmesh, one of the founders, is very into AI and playing with it. So they have ChatSpot AI where you can talk to them. You can also add templates here. So what would you like to do? You can do different reports. Like you can say, I want this report created, or I want a buyer persona profile created. There's all these different things. Sales emails specifically, draft a sales email to a thought leader. So it then gives you a prompt of what you should say. Hey, please help me generate a sales email for my company name, whatever. So you put these different things in and it can help you with templates.
That's fantastic because I think a lot of times it's going to be who's the prompt master to best use these tools and the fact that you're helping out people with the trademark HubSpot templates is great there.
For
Um,
sure.
well, that's pretty cool. One because I want to make the best use of our time, and I fully appreciate how on point you are. This was for those watching. This was not pre-rehearsed at all. Like Lauren is just knows her stuff. Um, So the next piece, so obviously when we look at like that sales cadence about you schedule it, you have that whole thing and you're working with your salespeople, marketing is now taking a bigger role. So we really need to be like warming the market up. And you're not going to always do that directly in the sales campaign, that targeted prospecting campaign. So what are the tools that you would suggest for marketing people to kind of be like warming the market up, like maybe some like a pre-campaign warm-up sequence? And like we know, and I'm gonna put a pin in this in a second. And then they also roll out of a sales or prospecting campaign for those that didn't convert one way or the other. They would just roll into a nurture campaign. So what I'm looking at, Lauren, big term is I want if I'm a sales leader and let's say I'm going to do quarterly prospecting campaigns, right? I want to be looking essentially at a 3-quarter window. I want to say, hey, this quarter, these list of companies are going to be in a pre warm up campaign that's kind of marketing driven, kind of giving content, giving value. But automatically next quarter, this group is going to get dropped into the prospecting campaign and they're going to be actively prospected by the sales team. And then some of those are going to get converted into meetings. Some are going to say, hey, I'm not interested, and they're going to opt out. but then some are going to do nothing, and then they're going to roll into kind of a long-term nurture campaign and kind of that next quarter to kind of nurture them or maybe even ongoing. So what are your best recommendations for kind of supporting that structure?
So the way that I build that structure might be kind of in reverse of what you're saying. So in HubSpot is a marketing platform at its core, and consent is very important. So having consent and opt-in to send emails, marketing emails specifically, is required in HubSpot. So let's say you purchased a list or you scraped a list, like you went through LinkedIn, built your list, or you used one of like the Built With platform where you get emails. Pulling that into HubSpot and just opting them into email and sending them emails can result in your account being banned or deleted without refund. So I'm very particular about making sure you have opt-in before you use the marketing features.
Okay.
So with that being said, what I do is the reverse of that. So say we build a scraped list, our sales team says, these are the people I want to do cold outreach to. We build the list, we put them in sequences. So we're sending them those sales sequences that says, hi, I'm whomever, download this piece of content. So it's more so you're using your salespeople to do that first step of the nurture. So we're pushing them to our guide on best recruitment tips of 2023 or your salary guide of 2024, whatever. You push them to this landing page that's built in HubSpot, and a landing page is just a website page with a form where they can fill it out and convert to then have them in your database. So once they have submitted that form and given their consent for marketing, then we enroll them in an automated marketing sequence. So your sales team is doing that outbound piece of getting their consent, and then marketing is nurturing them from there. Also, this would go the same way. It's like essentially you're plugging them into your inbound funnel using outbound. So for inbound marketing, we're then marketing on social, we're marketing through organic search, what have you, to these content offers. And outbound is saying, hey, you specifically look at this content offer. And then it goes into your same inbound nurture funnel. Does that make sense?
Maybe. Let me repeat it back and you tell me
Okay.
how bad I messed it up. So ultimately, it's okay to take an email address from someone that hasn't opted in, but you can email them through outbound sales cold outreach. And you can say, hey, want to reach out to you. Here is some content I thought you might enjoy, or go check this out. They would click on a link and then go to a landing page and opt in. And then once they have that, then you can unlock the kind of the full power of the marketing platform of HubSpot and put them in those nurture campaigns and keep nurturing them while the salespeople are still doing their direct outbound outreach. And then from there, anyone that gets added to that marketing cadence can just get emailed because that's compliant with HubSpot. Is that
Correct.
okay?
So we can get we just need to, the key to unlock HubSpot marketing is the opt-in. So we can get the opt-in through an outbound email that directs them to a landing page to then opt in, or we can get the opt-in from them finding themselves on the landing page through paid ads or social media or whatever drove them there. Outbound is just another channel to get to that form. So if we think about it that way, we can then use the sequences to help us get there. And then while sequences are that sales automation tool, workflows are the marketing automation tool. It can also be used for ops and all these different other things. So like the workflow tool is HubSpot's automation engine. But if you want to think about once we get the opt-in, we can use workflows. So well, just like with sequences, there's all of these predefined templates. So let's look at Marketing Hub specifically. Send an email series when a form is submitted. So let's look at this template. It essentially says whenever a form is submitted, we're going to send an email, wait for 3 days, and send another email. This is a very basic template. But once we have their opt-in, we can then send an email to an enrolled contact, whatever the email might be, and then click save. So now we have a marketing email that would go to this person. You can change the enrollment triggers. Obviously, this is just a template that HubSpot had set up. But what we would do here is once we have their consent, we then enroll them in here and we can start sending them more marketing focused emails, which are more designed, have different content, what have you. So it's not coming from a specific person, it's coming from the company at large. And so once they're in this series, we can then nurture them along, right?
Okay. So hitting the other piece that you mentioned in the kind of the optimal way to set up your workflow. Let's say the company, this regional or national company, has a marketing specialist or marketing manager that's actually putting out content on social media,
Mhm.
to kind of bring awareness to that company and enhance the brand. And let's say they do that. Let's say that, hey, we're ABC staffing company, and we just did this wage analysis report that you can actually go to and access it if you're interested, like download it here. And they're putting this out there on LinkedIn and Facebook or wherever. And unbeknown prospects go click on the link, they download the form, filling out the kind of the opt-in form. Then they would also get there, and then can you at that point segment them by either where their location is and then assign them to a specific sales rep to follow up with?
Yep.
Okay, that's pretty
Yep.
awesome.
So once they're in a workflow, you can do anything with them. So I'll show you here. Just like we had those 6 actions in the sequences, there's way more actions and workflows. So you can do things like delay time send, like delay between emails, branch, which is what I showed you before of how we say, okay, if they're in North Carolina, we want this set of things to happen. So like decision trees. And then you have different categories of actions. So communications, CRM, marketing, and data ops. So communications would be send a marketing email, send them a text message, send them a WhatsApp message, whatever you want to do here. CRM, we can update different properties like change a property value. So if they downloaded this form, we then want to say maybe change a property value to say that they downloaded that form or something like that. And then marketing, you can have ads audiences through HubSpot where you retarget people through a specific ads audience once you reach a certain amount of records in your database. And then data ops is format data. So let's say we had somebody come in and they did their first name in all caps. We would want to change it to proper case, stuff like that. You can manage all of that with the HubSpot workflow. And then you can also connect third-party apps. So for example, the Zoom integration, you could add a contact through a Zoom webinar because they submitted a form in HubSpot. So there's a lot you can do with HubSpot automation from a marketing and a sales perspective.
Wow, I guess so. Um, Man, that is a lot. Is there anything else I'm missing that you think is important for like the staffing industry that they should be aware of?
I think that if you're not aware of HubSpot, it's time to be. There is something called HubSpot Academy, and it's a very huge free library of educational content where you can go on and watch a ton of videos from the HubSpot Academy professors and learn more about these tools. So if you're not using HubSpot in some way, there are so many ways that you can. So plug into HubSpot Academy, follow solutions providers like me on LinkedIn. We post stuff all the time. I've started posting daily on LinkedIn of new content around the HubSpot Salesforce integration and also just HubSpot at large. So plug into the community, look at HubSpot Academy, and start to think really where there is a win for you in this and how you could start applying these features to your current system to kind of supercharge it and grow it.
I love it, and that's a great spot to land on because I know when I was at the Staffing Industry Analyst Executive Forum last year, I heard the Butler Street folks share a statistic that less than 25, just under 25% of salespeople the prior year actually hit their sales target, which was astounding to me. So I feel like there's a lot of agencies out there that really need to focus on selling in 2024, which I think is probably all of us. It's going to be another wonky year. And I think that tools like automation tools like HubSpot are definitely going to be helpful. And as long as they can integrate with the ATS, because I think some people might be able to get away with using HubSpot as the ATS, but really I think you need a tool that's built for what it is, which is why I think HubSpot is probably a great tool for the sales and marketing piece. So I think that's great. Lauren, if someone wants to reach out to you directly and find out more about, Coastal Consulting or HubSpot or workflows or any of that technical stuff that you shared, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, again, my name is Lauren Ryan. You can follow me on LinkedIn. I talk about HubSpot and Salesforce both a lot. Or you can look at our website, coastalconsulting.co, and book time directly with me there.
Awesome. Lauren, thank you so much for being here and taking us on a crash course of workflows for sales and marketing in HubSpot and how it can actually align with some of our manual campaigns that we're doing. Greatly appreciate it and have a great rest of your day.